Hello, welcome to Multitenancy in server-side Blazor using one database per tenant strategy with Azure AD Part 2. In this video, I will eliminate the use of HttpContext in implementing multitenancy. Now, I'm going to open Management Studio. So I click Connect. So I'm going to use two Transact SQL query files to create two databases that have similar structure. So the first Transact SQL query file is going to create a database called OfficeDB. So I'll click Execute. Then I click Close. I'm going to open the next Transact SQL query file. This is going to create another database called North Carolina OfficeDB. So I'll click Execute. I'll close. So if we go to databases, we can see the two databases, North Carolina OfficeDB and OfficeDB. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on Razin Blazor Studio. I'll select Run as Administrator. I'll click Yes in User Account Control. So I'll click New Application. I'll select Blazor Server Application. So I'm going to call this app Azure AD Tenant Part 2. I'm going to create this app on my C drive on Azure AD Tenant Part 2 folder. Then I'll click Finish. So I'm waiting for Blazor Studio to finish building the app. So the app is ready, but I'm going to proceed immediately to add data. To add data, I'll click on Data tab, then I'll select MS SQL, click on Next. As for the server name, I'll right click here, go to Properties, do Ctrl A, do Ctrl C, click OK. Then I do Ctrl V to paste this. Authentication type SQL login, username SA, password. Database, OfficeDB, I click on Next. Configuration name, data, click on Next. Generate pages for fraud, Next. Export to Excel, such as I type, double click to edit. Date format, dd/mm. I click Finish. Database is still being inferred. database is still being inferred. Inferring of database is now complete, so let's click run for the first time. So app is being built currently. So app has run for the first time. This is how the app looks like. So let us close this window. Let us stop the app. Now let us go to Azure AD. So I'm going to enter Microsoft.com. So I want to log into the HttpContext account. So I click sign in. So it's asking me to verify my identity. Send me a text message. So I've gotten a text message. So I enter the code sent to me. So I click verify. So now immediately I'm going to go to applications. Under applications, I click on app registrations. So I'll click on new registration. So let's call the app Blazor Azure AD Tenant 2. Now, let's call it Blazor Azure AD Tenant 2. Now, supported account types. Who can use this application access this API? We are going to select the third option, accounts in any organizational directory and personal Microsoft accounts. As for the direct URI, we are going to select single page application. Then we are going to select https:// local host port 5001 / sign in -OIDC. Then we click register. As you can see, we have this. Now, under the direct URIs, we have one SPA. Let's click this redirect URI. So let's add another. So this will be the redirect URI for the first tenant. Let's add another URI for the second tenant. So the redirect URI for the second tenant will be https //localhost port 5002 /sign in OIDC. Then I'll click save. Then under implicit ground and hybrid flows, I'm going to select access tokens and ID tokens. Then I'll click save again. So let me click on overview. So clicking on overview, this is what I have. So now back to the Blazor app in Blazor Studio. I'll click on security tab this time around. I'm going to implement Azure AD. Then I'll click on next. The instance is going to be https login.microsoftonline.com/common domain. The domain. I can get the domain by okay, I have the domain registered somewhere here. See, office tenants. The top 200 rows. Okay. So this is the domain. Copy it. Put it here. Tenant ID. Where do I get tenant ID from? You can see directory tenant ID. Copy. Paste. Client ID. That's application ID. Copy. I paste. Then I click finish. So you can see saying adding security. So now that is done, I'm going to close Blazor Studio. I'm going to go to my C drive. I'm going to open the application folder, my local disk C. I'll right click on the solution file and I'm going to say open with Microsoft Visual Studio 2022. So that has been done. So the application is now open in Visual Studio. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll go to Solution Explorer. I'm going to open app settings.json. So I double click on app settings.json to open it. Okay, so app settings.json is now open. Now under Azure AD, we are going to remove domain ID and tenant ID. So we'll be left with client instance, client ID. Okay. Callback path, we are also going to remove callback path. We are going to replace callback path with validate authority, which we set to true. Now, instance, I'm going to change that instance to authority. Then we click save. We are going to add a section for tenants. So the name of the section is Multitenancy. So I have tenants inside Multitenancy. I have tenant 1. This is the address where tenant 1 will be accessed. And this is the connection string for tenant 1, which uses Office DB. Then I have tenant 2. This is the host name. And then tenant 2 will be addressed at. And then our tenant 2 database will be North Carolina Office DB. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on Azure AD tenant part 2. I'm going to add a new class. So I'm going to call this class Multitenancy. And I'm going to add these two classes to multitenancy file. I'm going to add the tenant class, which has the following property: name, host names, and then the connection string, and then multitenancy class, which contains a property for a collection of tenants. Now we'll go back to Solution Explorer. We are going to open our program.cs file, and immediately after line 14, on the new line 15, we are going to write the following code: builder.webhost.use URLs port 5001 and port 5002 on localhost. So we have URL for 2 tenants. Now, immediately after line 25, we press enter, and we are going to add a safeguarding to get a multi-tenancy section. Builder.services.add safeguarding, builder.configuration.get section, multi-tenancy get. Okay. So builder.configuration.get section multi-tenancy means what this line will do is this line will go to app settings.json. It will read line 17 to line 36 to get multi-tenancy section. So it will now map what it has read to these two classes that we have here. Now, on line 28, we are going to change the declaration for adding data service from add scope to add transient. We are going to say builder.services.add transient. Then I'm going to go to line 29. I'm going to change builder.services.add I'm going to change it to builder.services.add HttpContext factory. Now, yes, I'm still saying options.use SQL Server, but I'm not passing any connection string right now. Then the next thing I'm going to add is I'm going to say that the service lifetime will be service lifetime dot transient. I'm going back to Solution Explorer. I'll expand data. So I'm going to add a new class. I'm going to add data context dot custom.cs. This is going to be a partial class definition for my data class. Now, what do I have in this partial class definition? So I have a read-only property for connection string. Then I have a constructor for data context, which initialize a new instance of data context using connection string. And then I override the onConfiguring method, and I tell the context to use SQL Server based on the connection string. Let's go back to Solution Explorer, and in the services folder, we are going to create a new partial class definition for data service. So let's call it data service dot custom.cs. Let's put in partial, and this is the definition. We have two methods. The first method is get solution users by email. So it passes their email address using the name parameter. So if context is not null, get items from solution users based on the name parameter, filtering on email address column. Check if user, then the second method is it checks if user is valid. First, on line 30, we assume that user is not valid. So that is why we put false there. So if context is not null, get solution users based on the name parameter passed in. Use the name parameter to filter the email address column. Now, item to return is equal to items.first or default. If item to return is not null, get the index of art in the name. Now, get the domain name from the name. So now var allowed tenant is equal to check all get all allowed tenants and filter by the user domain name. So if allowed tenant is not null, that means this user is valid. So the set valid user is equal to true. Now I'm going to modify the original definition of Condata service a bit. So I open on Condata service. I will open Condata service.cs. So now for the Condata context property, which is it is currently a read-only property, I'm going to change it to a read-write property by adding a set property for it. Then I'm going to remove this read-only property from Condata context. I click Save. I'm going to add a connection string variable here. And I'm going to add a read-only property for multitenancy. Click Save. I'm going to replace the constructor generated by Radsin with these two constructors. The first constructor takes in a navigation manager and multitenancy. So if navigation manager is not null, this dot navigation manager equals navigation manager, app URL is empty, try. Then I have a try block in which app URL is equal to navigation manager.blazor, multitenancy is equal to multitenancy. If multitenancy is not equal to null, get tenants based on app URL. If tenant is not equal to null. Now, if context is not null, then this dot context is equal to new Condata context created from tenant connection string. If there is exception, in the inner catch block true. Now, if there is exception in outer catch block, create a new data context on connection string. Now, second constructor takes in connection string. So if connection string is null or empty, set connection string to the connection string of first tenant and create a new data context from connection string. Let's have a third constructor. That creates data service based on connection string and app URI. So this third constructor, we create a new data context based on okay, sorry. We don't need this let's leave it the way it is. Let's leave it the way it is. So we don't need this constructor. Let's remove it. So let's go over to account controller. In account controller, we inject data service and multitenancy by first of all creating private variables for data service and multitenancy. Actual injection takes place in the account controller constructor. I'm altering the definition for current user method. So if user.identity is not null or empty, for each tenant in multitenancy, create a temporary connection string and create a new instance of data service from that connection string. Now check if the user is valid by passing in the username to data service. If user is valid, return a new authentication state with claims created from that user identity name. Otherwise, return that application authentication state is false. So at this point, let us run our app and see what we have. So now I'm presented with Azure AD authentication page. Pick an account. Let's pick Xboxing. Permission requested. Let's just say accept. Yeah, so we successfully logged in as Xboxing. So we have we have all this. Okay. Let us stop running the app. So now let's go to the pages that we have in our app. Let's start with index. Okay, we have index. Okay, so it's authorized. So all our pages are authorized now. So which means if you have not logged in, you cannot access our page. Cool. Now, let us use Office's page for our demonstration. We are going to open offices.razor.cs. And what we are going to do is, each time we need to call data service, we are going to call a method in security service which will create data service for the current user, and then we are going to pass in our navigation manager property. Now, such a method does not exist inside security. So we go to quick actions and refactorings, and we are going to say generate method create data service for user. So if you go to definition now, this is the method now in security service. I want to move this method to a custom file. So what I'm going to do is I right click on services, I right click on add class, so the name of this class is going to be security service dot custom.cs. Now, let's go back to the initial security service.custom.cs. So the namespace for it is Azure AD tenant part 2. So we adjust the namespace for this to be Azure AD tenant part 2 as well. We'll make the class definition to be a partial one, and the last method we generated in line 93 to 96, we are going to cut that method, and we are going to put it inside here. Okay, so let's make it public. Let's also add the async keyword as well to the method. Let's create read-only variable for multi-tenancy, okay, let's move the definition of this. Let's move it to the main file. Okay. Now, our security service constructor takes in two parameters: navigation manager and factory. Now, this method, now we take in so the security service now is taking in a third parameter, which is multi-tenancy. So inside here we are going to say underscore multi-tenancy is equal to multi-tenancy so in security service.custom.cs, the definition of our create data service for user will be new con data service. Okay, let me comment this one. We are going to say var service is equal to new con data service we pass in navigation manager comma underscore multi-tenancy Now, if user is authenticated, so what we are doing here is what we are doing on line 15 is we are creating preferred username claim. Now, this preferred username claim is in email format. In other words, it contains @ symbol. Now why am I doing this? Okay, so I need to create a new data service. From navigation manager. Okay. Let me comment these lines. See what we have. Wait. Let me remove them out of the way. I'm going to just cut them and put them in a notepad in case we need them again. So this is what we have. Let me go back to offices.razor. That line for data service, let me put it in there. 57. So let's run our app again and see what happens. So if Boston is logged in, let me put a breakpoint here. Let me put breakpoint here. Let me put a breakpoint in here as well. So let me click on offices. So I clicked the breakpoint for our initialize async method is it. So let me step over. Okay, fine. Let me step into that's F11. So I click yes, and I come here. So what's navigation manager looking like? Base URI is localhost 5001. So let me step over again. Let me step into. So when I step into, navigation manager, and then I have multitenancy. So let me step into again. So let me step over. So navigation manager is this. Step over, app URL is this. So app URL is, what is app URL? Localhost 5001. Step over. Multitenancy is not null. What's the tenant? Did we get a unique tenant? Yes. We get this tenant. So let's continue. If tenant is not null, try context. Context is null. So since context is null, create a new context with tenant connection string. Let's hit continue. Okay, let me stop the app. Debug, delete all breakpoints. So let me run the app normally now. Okay, so this is what this guy sees. Let me log out as it's boasting. Now, let me go to https://localhost 5002. I'm going to log in as Benjamin SQL Server. Click sign in. Accept. Benjamin SQL Server is logged in. Clicked on Offices. It's seeing a different data set from the one Xboasting sees. Thank you for watching. Yes, I'm going to stop the app for now. The only thing I think I should do here is to prevent data leak. That's another tenant seeing another tenant's data, seeing other tenants' data. Other tenants' data. Is after creating this new service, we need to validate username. Okay. I don't need this. So yeah, I need this. So principal.claims.element are true. That gets preferred username claim, which is in email format. So if user is valid, return service. Else, return new from data service with a connection string that does not exist. Okay, return new from data service. Let's say same spelling error, so let us say Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, let's just say Ronaldo. Alright, so this is just a big bogus stuff that is returned. Let's run our app again. Benjamin Fadino can access this page fine, which is page for everybody. What happens when it goes to offices? An exception has occurred. The reason why that exception occurred is because he's trying to access the application on the URL that is not supposed to. He is not supposed to access it. He's not supposed to access. It doesn't belong to the tenant on 5001. So what happens if it goes to the proper tenant that is supposed to access? Okay. What happens if it goes to the proper tenant that is supposed to access? Let's run the app again. (5002) offices, or another undo exception code. Let us see why. Let's put a breakpoint here. So let's head over to localhost 5002. Let's click on offices. Okay. F10. F10. Okay. What? Let's look at the principal.claims. Oh. Okay, this is where the issue is. Oh. Yeah. Username. Okay. Principal dot claims dot where key dot type equals Yeah. Add username. What first or default? Rule. User is valid equals false. If username is not equals to null, so let's see. Username claim. Username claim dot username claim dot value. So let's see again. Let me head over to localhost 5002. Click on offices, F10. It's called the claims. limit type. What? Okay, yeah, so you got the preferred username. Okay, fine. So F10 username. So check if user is valid. So user is valid. So if user valid, return service. Okay, continue. Okay, good. Let's close this browser. So let's do a bit of cleanup. Let's delete all breakpoints. Let's run the application again. Let's put a breakpoint here. So authentication by AD is successful. It goes to office page. A new service created. We get, so now we call the service to check if user is valid. User is not valid this time around. So it returns a new data service. The connection string of Ronaldo. Let's see what happens. Okay, we don't want this to occur. Now, what can we do to prevent this error? Yeah, what we could do to prevent this error is let's stop the app. So what can we do? Well, we could go to app settings.json. We could add a new tenant called we could call this tenant dummy tenant. Let's put the host name on for 5003. So the fake URL dummy tenant.razinrocks.com. So the initial catalog will be dummy tenant office DB. Dummy tenant office DB. Let's go to our program.cs. Let's add the third URL 5003. So this becomes URL for 3 tenants. Now, let me go back to Management Studio. I right click on Office DB. I go to Task, I say Generate Scripts. Next. Script the entire database and all database objects. That's fine. Next. But when I get to advanced, I will ensure that I'm scripting only schema. So I click on OK, open a new query window, click Next. So save to new query window, finish. Use master, create database. What database am I creating? Create database. Create database dummy tenant office DB. Execute. Now I'm going to remove some settings at the top of the TSQL query. So use dummy tenant office DB, fine. So essentially we are going to create a database with empty data. Click refresh. So you have dummy tenant office DB. It has the same structure as the other tables, but there is no data. So So what we are going to do now is we go back to our app, and instead of saying return new con data service, using Ronaldo connection string, I'm going to say return new con data service using multitenancy dot tenant 2 dot connection string. So let's run again. Let's see. So we head over to port 5002. We click on offices. Let's click on continue. Yeah, the fellow can see the data is entitled to see. Let's head over to port 5001. The guy clicks on offices, continue. He doesn't see anything. Data from the dummy tenant is displayed instead, because it's accessing the data on the wrong URL. Thank you for watching.